Our first speaker in this session is Professor David Lamb. David is the Chief Scientist of Food Agility. He holds adjunct and visiting professor appointments at UNE, Charles Sturt University and the University of Technology, Sydney. Professor Lamb is an inspiring leader in agricultural innovation and would join with me in welcoming him to the stage. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you for the Foundation for the opportunity to be with you today. In a nutshell, I guess, I exist at the bleeding edge of innovation. I'm a researcher, I lead research groups, programs, and I'm a research manager. To sum it up, really, I represent the change looking for agents, and that's why this event and you all are so critical, because change means nothing unless it's brought to us through the agents of change, and the agents of change, of course, are our youth. And sure, as many of us as we can bring along and train along and change along the journey. I wanted to talk a little bit about smart farms as a part of the process in bringing AgTech to life for life. The notion of smart farms really dates back to the early 2000s, pretty well on the back of when NBN came to town, the National Broadband Network. The whole focus on what broadband could do for our economy, for our social structures, our people, was always seemed to be focusing around the urban centres. But at the end of the day, our food and fibre production systems at the time were flagged to stand some of the greatest potential benefits in terms of realising outcomes of adopting in broadband technology. And in fact, the notion of smart farms really was about getting our farms, getting our food and fibre production systems connected over and above what people currently, or at the time, thought National Broadband Network was going to do. And the notion of a highly connected environment where the more than 250 decisions that an average farmer would make in a day are actually fuelled and fed by technology and now more and more data sources, is now sort of realising itself as we speak. You know, we've got commercial farms now, commercial systems that are ingesting or are collection points for enormous amounts of data from a broad range of sources into, dare I say it, but single locations, into dashboards. But at the end of the day, the decision making is still done by people. And there is a lot of excitement, a little bit of worry about artificial intelligence, machine learning. And I guess the question I ask is a question that my father asked me once when he was alive, when I told him what I was up to in my career. He said, but is artificial intelligence really any substitute for natural stupidity? And he had a point, because you know what, there's a lot of experience that we have in heads and in filing cabinets on bits of paper, shared knowledge between generations, and shared knowledge going back thousands of generations as well on the land. And how do you bring that together in a digitalised environment? And that is the smart farming challenge we find. What we're doing at the moment is succeeding in creating more and more data from an increasing number of sources. But at the end of the day, it's still coming into the neck-top computer on a gut server. And that's the challenge we've got to deal with today, because our kids, the next generation, are more attuned, are more confident and competent in that digital data sphere, the metaverse, than we are, yet so much experience that we have to pass on. That's where we haven't screwed up. And let's face it, there are many situations in food and fibre production where we have screwed up. How do we pass that on and get that into the system? And smart farms are a bit like that. And I like the comment that was made in the earlier video just then about the cauldron. At the end of the day, agri-food production is a melting pot of skills. It is a cauldron. You know, yes, we're into the business of feeding ourselves, our people, clothing, obviously, providing shelter. But when you look at the fundamental disciplinary breakdown of what we're doing, it is a multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary endeavour. And who is going to be equipped to deal with this cauldron, work the cauldron to effect in a environment that is becoming more and more digitalised as we move forward. And the clarion call is out. I mean, it's a privilege to meet people who are part of the groundswell of what we have today, where we need to be tomorrow, and what we're going to need to get there tomorrow. We have a skills challenge. We've got national strategies that are speaking to the fact that our workforce isn't equipped or is not necessarily fit for purpose for the near future, let alone the detailed future. Of course, and again, as part of privilege, Jim Prattley being here, of course, the Prattley Review for the state of New South Wales, that really kicked things. That was a real wake-up call for us all. But even in my game, looking at the research, development, innovation area of ag innovation, the bleeding edge of new technologies and new thinking, we've identified there's only so much we can do, and we can't get it across the cattle grid into the farms unless we've got the right people there or the right actors in the agri-food value chain to help move things along. And I'm not going to steal too much of Jim's thunder because this is Jim's work, Jim and his team's work, but at the end of the day, you've only got to look at the graph on the left to understand at a glance the mismatch between the needs of graduates in our industry and the supply. And we have to deal with supply. We have a problem. When I, as a Gen X, went into the workforce working for baby boomers, I was told to shape up or ship out. Nowadays, as a Gen X talking to Gen Y, Gen Z, I'm being told by them, listen up or lose out. Because that's the reality. It's the workforce that's going to be hard to find, increasingly so, and there's such a wealth of opportunity out there for career pathways. And we have to struggle with that. We have to meet the needs of it, and we have to engage with our agents. And I guess, and this seems to be the common thread, at the end of the day, our system, our sector, our beloved sector, does need a marketing makeover. Let's not change the name, agriculture, food production, it's what it is. But it's the substance and the way we do that inculcation and that engagement that matters. And of course, laying out what those career pathways are. I think the average job, the average length of job at the moment for Gen Zs is about 4.2 years. Okay, we have to capture them, engage them, and let them lead us through it, and we want them to stick. And what used to be a hands-on vocation, as we heard this morning in the wonderful opening presentation, it's really as much about heads in as it is hands-on. So we have to make sure we bring the best of both worlds to life. Now, before I came here, I had a crack at trying to map out, if we were to map out the various forms of the way we engage our current and future workforces with training, as I'm a physicist, right? So let me just keep it to 2 dimensions on a graph. You've got the reality axis and you've got the inspiration axis. I'm going to take a safe bet that, the good old bookworm learning on its own sits down in the bottom left somewhere. E-learning, virtual classrooms and virtual reality. There's a wealth of evidence now that's been through the rigmarole of peer review that's demonstrating how uplifting that can be to the engagement process with our students. We've always had, for years and years, school plots, university plots, little mini farms. They play a really important role, the hands-on piece at an early age. Good research to show that has enduring value. But the piece that is interesting to me, and I've not had a go at ranking them, they may appear, I have ranked them, but no, they're all sitting there. Working farms, real working farms, the ag tourism nexus of education. And for example, we've got Wonderful Farms of the Future program and DPI. We've got various other states have it with similar initiatives. And my particular interest, which is institutional smart farms. I think they have an opportunity there to really drive the reality piece about what the commercial realities of the operating systems need to look like and to deliver, and where the inspiration exists to capture our next generation of workforces. So anyway, I'm not ranking them, they're up in that top tier. Maybe you can help me work out exactly where they fit. But for me, I just want to focus on the smart farms. It's a bit of an introduction, it's a bit of a call to arms, and it's a bit of call back to arms. At the end of the day, we've got some educational institutions in this state, in this country, that are sitting on wonderful assets, farms. These are commercial farms. So I'm going to focus on 3 examples. They're not the only 3. But if we work it right, they can really sit at that nexus between, the education, the formal education, the lifelong learning, micro-credentials, research and innovation, which is tomorrow's change, and of course, the practicalities of farming and food production systems in a commercial business sense. That's the reality. So the Global Digital Farm at Charles Sturt University Wagga, John Medway, the director, is here. I believe John ran a workshop just shortly. I'm happy to answer questions in relation to the UNE Smart Farms, but Rochelle Hergenhan up there is the Industry Liaison Lead, and Longy College, Longrenong Avril Hogan, who's not here, but I'm happy to make some introductions if necessary. These are three examples I want to bring to light, very briefly if I may. The UNE Smart Farm, it's a 2,900 hectare commercial farm. Beef production, sheep production is its primary focus. It also has 1,000 head feedlot. Highly instrumentalised, highly digitalised, with data in the data sphere that is potentially available for use for ingestion. So what I'm trying to do here is to make some marriages here. Be aware of these sort of farms. 4 campus properties, combination of large, small animal enclosures. So its primary focus is on livestock life cycle. So, basically calving or lambing through to weaning, through to backgrounding into the feedlot, into the value chain. There's data coming out of all steps of the way in a commercial operating setting. So that's one. What stands out to me about the UNE Smart Farm, it's been at it for a few years now, since the mid-2000s, is there is a structure built around how that farm interacts with a teaching and learning environment. So, and it reaches back into early stage 1. So there's the UNE Discovery component, which does spend time with its Discovery van, packed full of goodies that are either data sourced from farm, hand tools, little digital devices that kids can interact with, that go out to the regions, through to obviously the secondary education components, which is through the GRASS, the Growing Regional and Agricultural Students in Science program, on-site smart farm visits, basically learning packages that are designed around curricula. There's also the HSE booster component, and all of that is built around the smart farms theme. And of course, where I exist at the research side, that is being fed down from research coming out of various research engines. So the standout feature of the UNE Smart Farm is the connectedness of its education outreach programs to its research innovation piece. Also, if you're interested, there has been piloted the Smart Farm Learning Hub. So this is between universities at this stage. We've created university modules that can be parachuted into standing units and accredited under RPL or unspecified credits. So for anyone in the university game in the audience, I hope that resonates. But at the end of the day, various universities are contributing elements of data from their own smart farms or their own agricultural properties and presences that feed into a community of data packages and learning packages that can be tapped out by all the other university partners into the program. Wouldn't that be nice to do exactly the same for secondary and primary teaching packages as well? Why not? Let's pool, build them, share them out. Because at the end of the day, we want these organisations and their smart farms to be useful. The next one to introduce is the Global Digital Farm. And for those of you that were in John's workshop earlier today, you've probably heard a bit about it, but just as part of the family that I'd want to focus on. It has a byline effectively of towards hands-free farming. So it really wants to push the envelope towards what we would consider hands-free, which is more than just robotics and autonomous systems as well. It's anything that reduces the need for hands-on, which means, of course, time and labour-saving devices. It has a long history. It's 130 years old, that country down there, in terms of its role in education, research and innovation. But important features, 2,000 hectares, that's the farm in the campus area. It has got a cropping and mixed farming focus. So UNE, livestock life cycle, this is cropping and mixed farming. So, animals, so it's got Angus breeders, it's got a smaller feedlot than UNE, but it's a research focus. It's got sheep. It's got, for example, what UNE doesn't have, the irrigation, the smart irrigation capability, the vineyard of the future, horticulture as well, and also a smaller farm up the road at Orange. What stands out to me when I look at the CSU Global Digital Farm is the fact that it's dotted with industry-based, demonstrator-led innovation, small endeavours or relatively small projects going on the farm that have got industry joined at the hip. It went ranging from Wi-Fi innovations, how to get in-house, at home, in business Wi-Fi experience out to anywhere in the farm, through to animal ID capabilities, through to precision agriculture, again with that cropping focus. The other one I just wanted to introduce or bring to the surface is the Long E Data Farm. So this is Longeron College, it's down near Horsham. Again, 1,000 hectare commercial grains farm, fully commercial. Okay, it's focused on vocational education, 110 full-time students. It's about a 60-40 female to male ratio. I mentioned that because it stands out, because this is not, equine science or vet science. This is agricultural science or agronomy, and that's good to see. Certificate 3 ranging up to advanced diplomas. Interesting feature I pulled out when I was under the bonnet down there a few weeks back, that on average students receive 5 to 10 job offers before graduation. Now that's a pretty exciting prospect. What stands out for me is that these kids, while they're doing their competencies on quad bikes and chainsaws and wool classing and fencing, they're also doing competencies on digital data handling in a digitalised environment. That's exciting for me. That's where the nexus is. And a very strong industry partnership on site. Branded machinery, kitted up for kids to drive around. Of course, that drives brand awareness and potential market loyalty. At the same time, it puts them in the cabin of things that are actually out on the field today, and will be there tomorrow. So I guess to what I'm getting at here, what excites me about the smart farms that I see popping up, and they're just 3 of many, is that they're reaching back further down than the supply chain, if I like, when it comes to skills. So, and I noticed there's representation from the Royal Ag Society here, and so I wanted to put this up to flag to you. In 2018, we built together, in partnership with Royal Ag Society, the first ever Farm of the Future Pavilion. This was a pavilion at the Sydney Royal, that was dedicated to the future of farming and food production. Not animals in stalls, which are absolutely important, not plants growing and not big fat pumpkins, but this is ag tech and the future of farming. And you'd be interested to know that in the 14 days that we had this pavilion running in the show, we had 340,000 people come through it. Can you imagine what that did to 12 people? It was massive. We had 30,000 people on Good Friday alone. It was wildness. Absolutely wild and madness. But they loved it. Everyone, ranging from the mid-80s down to kids with their little smart balls and their tablets, programming these little things to do controlled traffic farming on carpet. It was just ridiculous. We had no idea what we're in for. So I'm hoping that's the beginning of more of these presences in Royals, for example, to come, and in any regional show to come. As Mahatma Gandhi said, as we speak, you've got to live as if you're going to die tomorrow, but learn as if you're going to live forever. It never stops. And look, in a nutshell, what is Gen Z? What are we up against? We're not up against anything. This is the opportunity. They are capable, they're competent, and they're confident. They will tell us what they want, and we have to listen and respond, otherwise we lose them. They're agile. We're not so agile. I've got agile in my business, and it's a hard gig, but they're agile, so we have to be ready for it and respond to it. They're not afraid to buy into issues, big and small. They're not politically correct. They shouldn't be either. They really do give us a reality check, and I think smart farms, we can build them and execute them right. We will cater for this if we're right. If you'd like to hear more about it, see you in Wagga on the 11th and 12th of October at the Digital Agri-Food Summit. Thank you very much.